Yeah, welcome into the Tuesday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-1063 The Game. Brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Tuesday morning. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you? Happy Tuesday.
I'm doing okay. We've got a sweet divisional round set.
We do.
And we've already talked about the Packers. We don't need to talk about it anymore. I'm sorry to bring it up.
You did take a shot at the NFC North last night. I see what you did there on Twitter, too.
You like that?
Yeah, the Paper Lion.
Are you familiar with Paper Lion, by the way?
Yes, I am.
So for people, yes, I said NFC North, Paper Lion, ? And for people who don't know, so George Plimpton was a writer who went through Sports Illustrated and went through a camp with the Lions as a quarterback, and they made a movie about it called Paper Lion. Yeah. And he just got the crap out of him. And it was one of the great moments in Lions history because, they don't have many on the field. Is the NFC North the SEC?
Maybe.
We thought they were so awesome, and now they're all going to go crap out, one and done.
I mean, the Lions are the last hope, which is not a comfortable place to be throughout history.
Watch out for that Jaden Daniels, buddy. Watch out for Jaden Daniels.
Keyser, how we doing? What's going on?
Morning, fellas. Yeah, great game last night. Was it a throw? Was it not a throw? Matthew Stafford.
Was it a great game?
I mean, yeah, but
it was.
I mean, I liked it.
We watched the same game. Okay,
I liked it.
Well, you liked it. Okay,
yeah,
but it wasn't a great game.
That's all. If Keyser thinks it's a great game, it's a great game.
I mean, we were all wrong on Pixie and Pick'em on that one, by the way.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, it's true.
That was my lock.
That was a pretty brutal week for me.
Yeah,
I think I ended up 1-5.
Yeah,
that's tough.
You did.
Probably ends the competition for me.
But you can be a spoiler. You can play spoiler and then buy one of us pizza.
That's good. Great. Looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. We got a lot to get into on the program here today. We've got some Sam Darnold discussion to get into, which we will here in just a second. We've got potentially Deion Sanders to the Cowboys, which could be very interesting, which we'll get into. There was more Twitter drama with Jeffrey Simmons yesterday. Mike Vrabel was introduced as head coach of the New England Patriots. There was an interview across the street with the former Titans general manager that we'll discuss at some point as well. We got a lot to get into today, Joe Rexrode.
Yes, we do.
Not one of those days that's short for topics.
No, and we could also, break down segment by segment the 17 candidates for.
There's that.
GM. But I guess what they've whittled it down, huh?
They've whittled that down, so we've got that to get into, and also there's still yet to be moves made for the Titans coaching staff, which we can also get into. There's a lot to talk about today on the program.
I mean, look, there's no way this is happening, but at this point, it's Tuesday of the following week and nothing's happened. Again, like I said yesterday, that's if you're going to do something, you need to give people an opportunity to look for another job. Like new coaches are being hired. I mean, I suppose still in the next couple days, it's still reasonable, but it's weird.
It's very weird, and it starts to make me wonder if anybody's getting fired at all, or if they're just bringing this whole thing back for the coaching staff next year.
I'm here for all of it. I'm here for all of it.
I'm sure that the fan base will respond very nicely to that. But hey, you know what? At this point, if you're a Titans fan, why not? Just add it to the list. Just keep them. Yeah, Colt Anderson back. Yeah, come on, bring him back.
Everyone but Rand, all the players too. Yeah. Everyone but Rand. EBR.
Do this whole thing over again. Just Rand's not here, so it's all going to be better now.
You get him off the sideline with that T hat, and that whole vibe changes.
Yeah, apparently
Titans are ready to play some winning football.
That could be the strategy. We'll see how it goes heading into next season. All right, so the Vikings are eliminated. They lose 27-9 last night in the wild card game against the Rams. First off, Rams look pretty good. Just going to throw that out there. Going to be interesting to see what sort of a run they're able to make.
Definitely.
Darnold, 25 of 39 for 245, a touchdown, a pick, and a fumble lost. He was sacked 9 times in that game yesterday. 2 games in a row, Joe, to end the season where Sam Darnold, quite frankly, just was not very good. Now, he missed a ton of throws in the Detroit game, had some bad decisions in last night's game. The overall body of work for him this year, still pretty darn good. It is a sour way to end the season with Sam Darnold. So what does this now mean for Minnesota and Sam Darnold in your mind? And how much more likely is it today than it was this time 2 weeks ago that he actually maybe does reach free agency?
Yeah, I have to consider it a possibility now. Maybe that's being a prisoner of the moment. But, man, again, they drafted McCarthy last year, and he was the plan all along, and Darnold was a placeholder. And then Darnold is so good, and then they're 14-2, and they parade him around the locker room on their shoulders, and Sam Darnold, he's the Samchise. And then 2 straight games, he's terrible. And he really was. He was terrible against the Lions, and he was terrible last night. 9 sacks, and some of that was what you would expect. 9 sacks, their line getting caved in, but some of it was him, like, having a lot of time and then somehow instead of throwing it away, just ducking and taking a sack. He was so bad. And I know it's just 2 games as opposed to compared to the 16, but you also compare it to the whole career before that, right? And so how could you not in your mind think a little bit of, he just turned back into the pumpkin here? I don't know how that couldn't go through your mind if you're the Vikings. So I still feel like a tag could be possible. Some kind of a deal could be possible. But I think these last 2 games make it much more likely that he actually gets onto the market.
Well, here's my takeaway from it is I think franchise tag is now almost inevitable. I think the idea of a long-term deal for him, which is where I was leaning, the way that it had gone for him this year, like he had played that well. I think that starts to become way less likely. I still think there was enough good that he displayed this year that there's not a lot of harm in putting him on the franchise tag and seeing if he can come back next year and build on what he did this year. And maybe it looks better down the stretch. But I do think a lot of Minnesota fans, maybe secretly after the pain of losing the way they did yesterday and ending the season with a dud the last 2 weeks, the silver lining and all that may end up being, well, you know what? Thank God we kind of saw this before you paid him, right? Because can you imagine had they paid him the money that was going to be the going rate for him, if it was going to be a long-term deal and next year this is what he ended the season doing, and you said, oh, good, we got 3 more years of Sam Darnold at this rate. Like there is some silver lining, I guess, if you're a Vikings fan that you can take that it happened this way. But I'm with you. Like, to me, the long-term deal, pretty hard to justify now with the way the season ended. I would not be opposed if I'm a Vikings fan to going with a franchise tag and just seeing what he's got next year.
Yeah. Do the Cousins thing with him that Washington did,
Yeah.
and then finally move on and you're ready. And, the difference being that Washington didn't have the young first-round pick waiting in the wings back then, and Minnesota does. So, yeah, I think that makes sense to do that. They could also, they could tag him, and maybe someone out there is so interested they can get something significant back and, go with JJ. They do have Daniel. They've got Daniel over there.
They do. They do have Daniel over there. I mean, so let me ask you this.
He's just a one-word name, Daniel.
With the way that
good Elton John song.
Yeah. With the way that he's ended the season, let's say he does make it to free agency and Minnesota says, you know what, Sam, we appreciate you. It was a good year, but we're going to turn the keys over to JJ McCarthy next year, and he's going to be what we go with. How has the last 2 games affected the interest level in him in general? And if he is the best option, quote unquote, free agent wise on the market, how interested do you think the Titans should still be, given the way that things ended?
Yeah, if he's out there, absolutely. I would put him number 1 among the people that would actually be free agents. Right? He'd easily be the top free agent, I think. I mean, I think this year was not a mirage. Now, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, even Jalen Nail. That's a very good, and T.J. Hawkinson. Yeah. That's a
Aaron Jones. There's a lot of weapons they got.
That's a heck of an offense. With an offensive line that got banged up and got bad, but you do have to keep that in mind. And I feel bad for Justin Jefferson, by the way. The last 2 games, it's like, wow, he's doesn't make that much of an impact. Yeah, he's getting open still. The quarterback's not. I mean, he could have had 2 or 3 touchdowns against the Lions if he just throws the ball where he had been throwing it all year. But I still think that those 16 games count. They mean something. He's taken definite steps, and I think he could be a good option. He's going to be a good option for someone. The whole oh my gosh, is Sam Darnold becoming a great quarterback?
Yeah.
Is he going to be the guy? The last two games put a lot of cold water on
It's
that.
going to be very interesting to see what happens with him and what decision Minnesota decides to make with him as they move forward here. Let's get to this from Matt on the YouTube chat. Going back to the Titans coaching staff. It says, part of the new GM's role is helping with coaching staff. Is it not possible that they're waiting for that? Or do you guys just want something to complain about? This from Matt on the YouTube chat.
Yes, Matt. We just have to totally manufacture things to complain about with the Tennessee Titans. Why? How could you complain about this franchise?
Yeah.
Let's just make something else up. Well, Matt, let's understand. Okay, again, the GM that's coming in is the assistant to the regional manager. Okay, Chad Brinker is in charge, and yes, the new GM can come in and that can be part of his thing. They're not waiting for the new GM to come in. This is a joint decision between Brian Callahan and Chad Brinker. And if Amy wants to chime in and say, you are firing that special teams coach, right?
Yeah.
Then that's fine too. But no.
By the way,
this is not – I mean, they may be waiting for that because they're focused on the GM search, but which, again, to me is just – like if you are going to move on from coaches, give them a chance to move on with their lives and find the next job.
Well, beyond that, this needs to be Brian Callahan's decision. This needs to, if you're going to stick with Brian Callahan as the head coach, then Brian Callahan needs to be the one making decisions on his staff.
I agree. Now, coaches do sometimes get told what to do.
I'm sure they do, but if you're going to tell him what to do, tell him what to do. Like, what are you waiting on?
Exactly.
Like, this needs to be, if you're keeping Brian Callahan around, he needs to be the one making decisions with his coaching staff. And if you feel like you have to intervene, if you're Chad Brinker, then intervene. But it's been 8 days since Brian Callahan was in front of the media talking about how they were meeting with the coaching staff. And if there were any decisions, they'd make them later in that week.
Maybe that's it.
That could be.
Or maybe you're just finding a reason to complain, Robby.
I mean,
complain.
I'm just saying, like, this is weird.
It's weird.
Yeah. 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. Some more interesting Twitter stuff with Jeffrey Simmons, which continues to be a theme. We'll get into that coming up next as well. Take your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, which are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Some more Jeffrey Simmons Twitter stuff, Joe Rexrode, which has been somewhat of a consistent theme over the last little bit. So apparently yesterday, and this happened like yesterday morning while we were on the air, Jeffrey Simmons liked a tweet essentially about the idea of him being traded to the New England Patriots now that Vrabel is the head coach up there, and has since come out with a clarification post on Twitter. Here's what Jeffrey Simmons said yesterday morning around noon. Says, liking that tweet was literally not on purpose. Y'all cool out. It's not that deep. I know where my heart's at. My goal is to retire a Titan, back to enjoying my offseason. This is what Jeffrey Simmons had to say on Twitter. A couple things on this from my perspective, Joe. I have no idea whether or not Jeffrey Simmons liking a tweet about him being traded to New England was intentional or wasn't intentional. And there's no way for me or you or anybody else to prove what his intent was behind that. I almost don't even really care if it was intentional or not intentional. This is just yet another example of Twitter being a problem for him. And look, far be it from me to be a radio host here that tells Jeffrey Simmons what to do with his social media and what to do with his personal Twitter account. But it just feels like there's always something with him on Twitter. And I don't think Jeffrey Simmons is like some bad guy. I don't think Jeffrey Simmons is a problem in the Titans locker room. I don't think that Jeffrey Simmons is like some representation of all the negative things that are going on with the Tennessee Titans right now. But it's always something with him, whether it's seeing something on Twitter and flying off the handle and, almost putting Andrew in a pretzel out there. It clearly lets things bother him too much. And clearly Twitter is something that is just always a storyline with him. And just the latest example of that yesterday. Again, I don't even really care if the like tweet was intentional or not. There's never going to be any way that anybody could prove whether it was or whether it wasn't. And look, I get it. You can scroll down Twitter. I've accidentally liked things on Twitter. Just scrolling, it happens. So I'm not going to sit here and say like it's impossible that the like tweet was not on purpose or on purpose, whatever it was. But it just feels like there's always something with Jeffrey Simmons as it relates to Twitter.
Do you ever have moments in your life when you realize how meaningless everything is?
Yes.
This would be one of them.
Yes.
Well, Jeff had a point, though. Like when he went off on everybody because the Jamal Adams signing was so awesome.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
I had forgotten about that one. Yeah, add that one to the list, too.
Well, that was right before the
right
whole
before
Andrew thing.
Andrew's pretzel.
Andrew. Hold on, before I sign that autograph, let me throw this nerd through the wall. Thank you. Okay. All right. Let me see your Frisbee. Yeah, I would never know. I would never know that this stuff is happening. I'm so close to being checked out on Twitter altogether. The only thing about this that, I'm with you. It's like, who knows? I have no idea. There's some people. This is my problem with things like this happen. So he tweets that. And this is where I do have a little issue sometimes with like some Titans media. Okay, because he tweeted that, you should not quote tweet and say, see everybody, you're wrong. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know, man. Now, it's like the opposite of that is silly, and everything's a conspiracy, and everything. There's always the sinister explanation, right? I don't know. You don't know. He doesn't know. We don't know. But I'm with you. It's a pretty frequent thing with Jeff, and I could see him, kind of liking the idea.
Yeah, I
can see him liking the idea.
This is not some, shocking thing if he did like the tweet on purpose.
I mean, look, the guy, it's gone terrible here. The team is terrible. They just fired the GM who, by the way, got his deal done.
Yep.
And who he appeared to like a lot. Yep. And he's gone. So, and now Vrabel's in New England. I mean, I could totally see it. But,
yeah. But it just, again, I don't even really care. Like, if you liked it on purpose, like it on, I don't care. It just, I'm so over Jeffrey Simmons and Twitter being used in the same sentence around here of things we talk about. It feels like it happens all the time around here.
Yeah. Yeah, and he should get off. And really, I think most people should get off Twitter. It's such just an absolute train wreck. Like the whole, if you do the for you thing there, it's like, how is this for me? I don't want this on my screen. Please leave me alone.
Said back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Jared in Spring Hill. Jared, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good morning. I think about the Jeffrey Simmons stuff. I do believe that he can be kind of a sympathetic person to feel sympathy for in this situation. Like, he traded away A.J. Brown, his draft buddy, fellow Mississippi, buddy as well. They get rid of Vrabel, who was his rookie head coach. I mean, they've really made the situation here very bad for Jeffrey Simmons. And I think we've learned, and if we should have learned before then, that Jeffrey Simmons isn't a company guy. He's not a buyer. He's not a Henry type who can go up in there when things go bad. He can go up in there and lie to everybody and make it seem like it's okay that they have the answers. He's just not really that guy, and they want him to do that, and it's a good thing for him. I guess you could put it in his professional growth plan of that he needs to be a leader. But, I think he just sees through all the minutia that goes on behind the scenes, and he doesn't stand for it, seeing how it went with Vrabel and then now with all this kind of stuff. And, guys, we got to get Colt Anderson out of here. I'm surprised that he's not. But if we want to have any sense of special teams play, look at the Houston. There's a bunch of special teams plays going on in the playoffs, and I don't think Colt Anderson knows how to do any of those things, blocking punts, returns, any of those, kind of like plays that can sway some momentum into your favor in a playoff game. I don't think he can do it. So, hey, I appreciate all y'all. All right, and I'll hang up and listen.
Yep, thanks for the call, Jared. Appreciate it. Look, this is why I really don't care if it was liked on purpose or not, because if Jeffrey Simmons did want out, okay, yeah, I can understand that, right? Like, it's been a total tire fire around here.
It's completely understandable.
Yeah, like, if he wanted out, it'd be bad for Titans fans, but I would say, yeah, I understand, like, a player looking at this situation right now and saying, man, good Lord, somebody come rescue me. So again, I don't even really care if that's a tweet that he liked on purpose or not. It's always something with him and Twitter. As far as the Colt Anderson thing, like, look, you're not going to get any arguments, I think, from either one of us about Colt Anderson and the way things went for the Titans this year on special teams. It's hard to be confident in it moving forward.
So again, if you're Colt Anderson, maybe you've been told by Brian Callahan, you're good. Everybody's good. Okay. But if you're Colt Anderson, you have to read the writing on the wall. You have to read the room. You have to understand the situation. It's like the special teams mistakes, again, for a rookie coach too, like, there's no track record to lean on, right?
No.
So you have to know that there's a very good chance you're going to be fired. If you're him right now and you're in limbo, you got to be just like us, like, what? Like, tell me something, And again, maybe that's not the case, and they just haven't made anything public. I hope that's true. But if it's if everybody's just sitting here waiting, it's very confusing.
But let's say that is the case and they haven't made anything public. Like, how often does that happen in the NFL where you fire a coach and you don't make it public?
Almost never, because typically that coach's agent will tell some reporter,
right,
and it'll become public. So yeah, it's very unlikely.
Which means that we're 8 days out and we're just sitting here with the coaching staff.
Hey, Brian, it's Colt. Just seeing what's up. Want to go to Top Golf or something? Just seeing if you need anything.
What if they had the meetings last week and he was just like, hey, man, you guys are all good. Let's come back and let's try to get better in year 2.
That'd be something.
At this point, in that kind of the way that it looks like they're leaning, if you're firing them, I don't know, like Colt Anderson specifically, what do you need to meet about? Like, you going through that decision-making process right now? Like, did you not see enough in the regular season to even determine?
Well, you meet because he's a guy that you've worked with.
Well, that's fine.
Try to be,
but like the decision part
human.
of it, like the decision needs to be made at this point.
Yeah, you'd think so.
I don't understand what the holdup on that would be. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Rand Carthon did an interview yesterday across the street that has generated a lot of reaction. We'll offer our thoughts on that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Matt on the YouTube chat has a big problem with us so far this morning, which we welcome. That's fine.
I don't welcome it. You're banned, Matt. You're banned.
Matt says,
oh, my God. Look at all these messages from Matt. Holy cow.
He says, why is everyone refusing to admit that special teams made massive leaps forward when they finally got veteran special teams players on the roster? And my response was, massive leaps forward from complete and total ineptitude. Is that the standard? I mean, you could make the argument that they got better. They did get better on special teams in the second half of the season from being the worst special teams unit in the history of the National Football League. You can take that for whatever you want to take it.
Yeah. He said people give Callahan the benefit of the doubt. He can improve. Why can't Colt? If he is the head that rolls, that's fine, but they didn't improve. Okay. Hey, you know what? I'm here for alternative viewpoints.
You can give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think it's hyperbole, Joe, to say that was some of the worst special teams play in the history of the National Football League. Go back to watch that Detroit game. So it's not like this is just like, oh, well, it was pretty bad, but it got good at the end of the year.
Right.
It was historically bad in the history of the National Football League.
Right. So, like to me, it's like because of that, does he have to be punished for that now? If you think he's good? No. He doesn't have to be. But when you have a 3-14 season, I mean, really, the way it works in this league is that some people lose their jobs.
Yeah.
And he would, like if you're someone else on that staff who lost your job and he didn't, it'd be like, really? Let's compare like my production or my area to his, publicly, as we know, that's the worst thing
and you can blame
the offensive line, and that coach is not going to be in trouble.
And you can blame it on the roster if you want to. I mean, look, GM got fired, so you can blame it on the roster. I guess my follow-up question would be, was the roster that bad where the special teams was that bad?
Yeah, like if you're just like straight up letting people come up the middle on a punt, any like mannequin, if you just place them correctly, doesn't let that happen.
Like there have been some bad football teams littered throughout the history of this league that have not had special teams anywhere close to as bad as that was this year. I mean, again, maybe they have made a decision to keep Colt Anderson and he's going to be on staff next year. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, to sit here and act like, well, they improved. It's like, okay, they improved from being one of the worst special teams units in the history of football. So congratulations.
To being not a huge issue. Yeah. A lot of people are getting after him now, calling him a Colt Anderson burner. He's got to be his best friend. He says, no, I'm a punter. I was a punter in college, and I know how special teams works. Okay. That's fine. If you know how special teams works, you must have watched those block punts and thought, oh, my God, that shouldn't happen in a JV game.
You would think. So Rand Carthon did an interview across the street yesterday that generated a lot of reaction. And let me first start off by saying this. Obviously, we're on competing radio stations. And
yeah, why are you talking about the competition?
We know.
What are we trying to do?
Those guys are on at the same time we are. Like I know Kayla really well. She's a really good person.
Yep.
I know
been friends with her for a long
Ramon time. A little bit. We go to the same church together, but I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm like huge friends and
good guy
with Ramon. And Will was not there yesterday. So there's that to point out as well. I listened to the interview. I found it, quite frankly, Joe, to be a big waste of time yesterday when it comes to Rand Carthon. It's a tough situation from the standpoint of like Rand Carthon, I think clearly wanted to go on the show. So like, what do you do as a radio host in that situation? Well, you probably take the interview. Having said that, like they didn't really get into much at all of what I think Titans fans were looking to hear. And I know why. Like Rand Carthon didn't want to talk about that stuff. And there's NDAs involved,
exactly.
And he's still getting paid for by the Titans. And obviously, if you're Rand Carthon, you don't want to do anything to screw that up. Having said that, like Titans fans have been all over this since it happened yesterday and have been critical about the interview and how there was just not really much of substance to it that you walk away from. So my take on it is kind of this, Joe, and I'll let you say your piece on it as well. it's a tough situation, I think, for radio hosts to be in because it's an interview that's available to you that is obviously interesting. But if you can't really talk about what most Titans fans want to talk about, I don't really know what you're accomplishing there. And, I heard Adam Vingan say this yesterday, and I largely agree. From the journalistic part of it, I understand, like, from Rand Carthon's point of view, there is an NDA, and he doesn't want to talk about all that stuff, and that's fine. But if he doesn't want to do that, then that's on him. That's not on you as the radio host. Like, you can ask the question, and if he doesn't want to answer it, then he doesn't have to answer it. That's on him.
Yeah, I think I think that's one of the big things is come out front and say, because I did notice like Kale on Twitter was like, we couldn't ask about Brinker. That's something you just say up front, you make him say what are we not going to say? Everybody knows there's an NDA at work here, so it was going to be pretty limited. Okay. Do you take the interview if you're the station? Yes. Do you promote the interview if you're the station? I mean, come on. Yes, you're going to do that. You got to be a little bit more aware of, like, first of all, like, a lot of people are obviously, whoa, okay, what's he going to say? If you're realistic, it's not much, but you got to hit on those topics, let him say, nah, we're not doing that. And it just felt like he just kind of wanted to, like, just have fun and hang out and stuff. And it's like, this is, it's it's like a week after you got fired. Yeah. It's just a weird thing for that.
Not even at that point.
Like next year, it's like, all right, Rand, he's still in town, and let's just have a fun hour. And there's nothing really going on in the world. Why not? But this was like, people are like, oh my God, I want to hear about, what happened. So there were some questions that, were like, I thought relevant. And I think that the one thing about it that bothered me from the Rand perspective, and I know that I ripped the crap out of Kuharski last week and probably will again when he comes in. But, his take on, they asked about the story at paulkuharski.com. And I just like his analysis of that, which sounded like he thinks that Paul just like wrote a column saying, I saw Rand in the plane. No, Rand, he actually talked to people who worked with you, who had a problem with you, who said these things about you. So let's not, let's remember messenger and message here and understand that Paul has covered the Titans since the mid-90s and is not out here making crap up. He's got people in the organization who had an issue with you, who talk trash about you, which again, I called them weasels and I stand by that. However, it is a real thing.
Well, and he called it, like, he was talking about how the personal relationship, right? And like, if you don't have a personal relationship with it, that he's not putting stock into what's said about him. And it's like, okay, well, if you're approaching that from the standpoint of Kuharski, that's fine. But Kuharski's not the one saying that. He's reporting what he was told from people who do have a relationship with you. So
exactly. Like, I assume, I don't know. Maybe those people also weren't in your home.
Well, if that's the standard, then
yeah. So that part was okay, whatever. There's a little bit of, it just spoke to me a little bit of a misunderstanding of like what is going on here. Yeah. And like when you have a public job, which can be very rewarding, there's also things that come with it, which, look, Rand, as we've talked about, did not totally get all that.
Yeah. Look, bottom line is, like, when we saw that interview was taking place, I didn't have the expectation that Rand Carthon was going to get on the radio and just like nuke the Titans, right? Like, I didn't think that he was going to get on the radio.
Oh, no way.
And then just like totally rip Amy Adams Strunk and Chad Brinker and everything that went down. Again, that's why it becomes a tough spot.
Of course not.
From a radio host, because it's like, do you take the interview? Do you not take the interview? My general thought on it is, if you're going to take the interview, you have to make Rand Carthon be the one that dodges all that stuff.
Yeah, and just make it more, even if it's more about like, you think, what do your regrets, things that he would be willing to about his own performance, right? Stuff like that. He can get into stuff like that. He can get into decisions on players. It's like, okay, he's not going to talk about Brinker. He's not going to talk about Amy, whatever. Fine. That. But again, that's also like, make that clear to the audience up front.
I would have liked to have detailed each conversation he's ever had with Mike Vrabel. That would also have been fun.
That would be fun too. They did ask about Vrabel.
A lot of Vrabel. I listened to a lot of Vrabel yesterday.
Did you?
Too much. I watched the entire press conference that he had. And then like he kept doing, I guess, their media car wash.
Yeah.
So he joined their Patriots podcast and did a bunch of interviews. I saw a lot of it. Saw a lot of Mike Vrabel yesterday. I thought of you the whole time.
Well, I missed it, so I'd like to hear more about it.
I will get into Vrabel and some of his comments yesterday in New England coming up next. In the 7 o'clock hour, some interesting potential news on the coaching front in the National Football League that could, in a roundabout way, affect the Tennessee Titans. We'll get into all that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Preds fan, don't miss tomorrow night's Smashville Live at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs at 6 o'clock. See your Pred star players up close and personal, your chance for autographs and pictures as well. Player guests tomorrow will be Jeremy Lazan and Cole Smith. That's tomorrow night at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Some interesting head coaching news in the NFL, which we'll get to here in just a few minutes, that could affect the Tennessee Titans. So we'll get into that.
Some prime news.
Yes, potentially so.
You like that, Nick? Come on, don't shake your head.
We'll get into
You like that pun.
coming up here in just a few minutes. Mike Vrabel introduced as the 16th head coach in the history of the New England Patriots yesterday. Robert Kraft got it there. Talked about Mike Vrabel's playing career, his coaching career. He introduced Vrabel. Vrabel had a press conference for like 30 minutes. I watched it in its entirety just to see what it was going to be like.
Wow.
And, you know, as we know, we didn't see enough of Mike Vrabel press conferences around here, and I missed it. So
Yeah,
decided to watch Vrabel yesterday.
that's weird.
He
I
did
did
his media car wash that he did after that. I will say this. Here's a brief synopsis for you. He basically sounded like all the press conferences that he's done here. There was a lot of, we're gonna treat you how you treat the team. Where there's a lot of, the type of player that they're looking for is you need to know what to do and then play fast after that. Like some of the same Vrabel things that we've heard him talk about for a long time here. I guess the one thing that I found to be interesting, he was asked, and I believe this was in his press conference, about like whether or not he's always dreamed of being the head coach of the New England Patriots. And his answer basically was, when I first started coaching back at Ohio State, I probably allowed myself to think about that and to be, wouldn't it be cool if one day you ended up back in New England as the head coach? He did make sure to point out in the middle of that answer, Joe, that he did not think about being the New England Patriots head coach while he was the head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
Well, that's ridiculous.
So
Everybody knows that this was a plan to have Mayo on the contract and Vrabel not get the Chargers job. And come on.
He just wanted to make that clear that he did not think about becoming the head coach of the New England Patriots while he was in Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
So,
for
I'm glad he pointed that out.
Yeah. Yes. When I came, yes, Robert Kraft and I, we cut each other, we rubbed, our blood together, became blood brothers, and promised that this would happen. But, well, I didn't see much of it. I saw the quote of, we want to take advantage of bad football.
Bad football.
I thought
Yes.
that was it. I like that quote. So is he the same? Like
he's removing entitlement from the Patriots organization.
Yeah, that's an interesting comment. Was he just the same? I forever.
He was in a good mood.
He was in a good mood.
No,
He was
in a good
cracking
mood.
some jokes.
Oh yeah, he was cracking some jokes.
Okay.
Like he stepped up to the podium and they were clapping, but I guess like the media people had their phones up and were recording him. And he said, you can put your cameras down for a second and clap, which is a very Vrabel quip there.
Yeah,
that he laid out
sure.
there.
God, I hate press conferences where there's slappies clapping in the back, dude. It's one of the worst.
There's a lot of applause.
We
going
got
on
Robert Kraft's family over there, is this like the Rand thing when he
I
walks into the
think they
building?
may have brought the entire organization down. Yes,
for the freaking press conference.
Yeah,
God, so ridiculous. Well, the Patriots are a clown show. That's the thing that the Titans. We focus on our clown show here in town, but you look at the Patriots. I mean, it's been bad, and it's an interesting kind of ability to start from the ground up at a place where you still think of all the championships, you think of the dynasty and everything like that, but really it's just a bad situation. So it's going to be interesting to see how quickly he can turn that around. I do hope that you think back to when he first started here as Titans coach and how uncomfortable he was at presser, like, now don't stand over there. I mean, he had some weird pressers that first year.
it really got better as he went along. What are you doing with your hands?
Well, that was later because he's a jerk, but because I was doing a perfectly awesome thing with my hands. But I hope he's a pretty freaking funny guy. I hope that he shows that to them, and he may need to crack a few jokes when they go 5-12 next year.
He might need to. Now, obviously, he was asked about one thing that was. I was reminded of the difference between Callahan and Vrabel in a press conference setting, which, again, at the end of the day, nobody really cares about unless you're winning football games. But he was asked about Drake May. Like, there was this long question about Drake May specifically, like conversations. Like, have you talked with Drake May? And his answer was, well, I've talked to some players and, who those players are and what that looks like.
I hate that
like
stuff.
he wouldn't even say that he had talked to Drake May when asked about talking to Drake May. He's like, yeah, I've talked with some players.
Look, I know Titans fans that if Brian Callahan goes 3-14 in games, he's gonna get fired and all that stuff. But man, that guy shows up and says, here's the injuries, here's what's going on, here's some answers to questions. Vrabel. Well, yeah, I talked to an anonymous player. Why?
I
Why?
laughed out loud when he said that. I was like, all right, well, that's good. So in a way, you're saying you have certainly talked with Drake May, but you won't come out and say that you talked with Drake May. It's pretty funny.
I talked
enjoy
with
it.
someone with the first letter D in his name and M.
Who happens to play quarterback. Yeah.
Oh, man. It's going to be interesting. There were times when things went bad here. There was a loss. He'd get snippy or whatever. He gets, John Glennon. Is Zach Cunningham going to be a good player?
Yeah.
I'm not here. And at those moments, every time either somebody here or someone on the text line or whatever on the internet was like, God, if that guy was in a big city with a big press corps, he would never survive. Well, I guess we'll find out.
I guess we will. On the Drake May front, look, he showed some promise this year. I think there's certainly he showed enough to be excited about if you're the Patriots moving forward. I do think like some of the conversation around him has been a little weird to me. Like it's been like some anointing that he is for sure a franchise guy moving forward here. Like he threw for 2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 10 picks this year. Like he was fine, especially given the circumstances around him. Wasn't very good. But like I don't know that Drake May is going to be one of those guys moving forward. You can feel good about it. Obviously, Vrabel does. But like some of the conversation to me about Drake May over the last few days has been kind of weird. It's like, well, he's got Drake May, and that guy's going to be really good. It's like, well, he might be, but like I didn't see enough from Drake May this year personally to walk away and say, yeah, that guy for sure is going to be a really good quarterback moving forward.
Well, it's certainly not the same as obviously Jaden Daniels,
right?
And to me, even Caleb Williams. I will say that there were a couple of performances late where it's like, okay, you can see it, So yes, the overall picture statistically and everything, nothing special. Terrible team. And I've always thought, go back to college, I mean, he's pretty freaking good. Man.
Yeah, I think he's really talented.
I think they've got something. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, it is different than like Jaden Daniels, who at this point, it's hard for me to even buy that. It's hard for me to think anything but Jaden Daniels is going to be the best quarterback out of this class. I know some people argue that and say Caleb Williams. I think Jaden Daniels is special. But, yeah, with Drake May, I think he's got a real chance for sure.
Yeah, I think he's got a chance too. But, like, I guess what I'm saying is I don't understand the conversation.
He's not a
that sounds like he's some
star.
sure thing moving forward here. Like, I don't know that I saw that this year from him.
Like, Drake May right now, based on a limited sample size in 1 year versus Mariota when Vrabel came in here at that point.
Well, I mean, Mariota
had just won a playoff game.
Played 3 years, had won a playoff game, and was pretty good in 16. Like Mariota's season in 16 was better than what Drake May did this year.
Yes.
So it's a little bit different of a compare. Now, his 17 season, even though they won a playoff game, wasn't very good.
No, I mean the whole, and that's why the OC got a lot of the blame.
Yeah,
Robisky got a lot of the blame. I might compare those, and I might say I do see a little bit higher ceiling right now with Drake than at that point with Mariota.
Yeah, I mean, I think the arm talent for sure is really, really good. And he did say the staff has not been finalized, so he is not named a offensive coordinator yet. So still going to be interesting to see who that is, what that looks like.
Some guy with a mustache. Hey, everybody, it's Mosh Daniels.
Could be.
Welcome to your first time in Foxborough.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Some interesting coaching news that could be brewing in the National Football League that might affect the Tennessee Titans. We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keys are here with you on this Tuesday morning. We will have Preds Pick to Click later this hour, so make sure you tuned in for that. Joe, some interesting news around the National Football League. Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys are now parting ways. So Mike McCarthy was requested to be interviewed by the Chicago Bears a few days ago, and the Cowboys said no. And all indications look like that the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy were working toward a contract extension. His contract was up. It looked like they were working towards an extension and that he was going to be back in Dallas. Now, there's been a lot of reporting around this. It kind of looks like what's happened here is there was an offer from the Cowboys. McCarthy wanted a better offer, and they eventually just decided that it was time for them to part ways, which leaves Mike McCarthy now out there and available should Chicago or anybody else want to come in and scoop him up. And it leaves a head coaching vacancy with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, when that first came out yesterday, Joe, the conversation quickly shifted to Bill Belichick, who is the head coach at North Carolina, because apparently Bill Belichick has some desire to coach in Dallas and thought that that could be a nice fit for him, but didn't think it was ultimately going to end up being a possibility, which according to some of the reporting is why he took the job in North Carolina. Well, now it is open and it is a possibility. And there is some speculation. Will Jerry Jones fork up the $10 million to go buy him out of the North Carolina contract to bring him in to be the head coach in Dallas? So that's the first part of this. The second part of this is Deion Sanders and what that could end up looking like. Obviously, Jerry Jones knows Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders used to play for the Cowboys. And some reporting last night that Deion Sanders and Jerry Jones have at least spoken about this, and that there could be some legs to Deion Sanders being the coach in Dallas. Jordan Schultz was the first one I saw put this out there. It said that Jerry Jones has spoken with Deion Sanders about the head coaching vacancy. Discussions are expected to continue, and he is considered a top candidate, though the Cowboys plan to interview other coaches, obviously, as a part of the process. So what do you make of that idea of Deion Sanders going from Colorado potentially to become the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and what that could mean for the future of Dak Prescott, what that could mean for the future of Shedeur Sanders if that ends up being the case, if he is the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, look, it looks like this has legs, and I heard Adam Schefter on Unsportsmanlike on this here channel before our show talking with Deion last night. I think somebody else, like maybe Pelissero did too. So Deion is now talking, and Schefter said that Jerry and Deion talked yesterday, and also Deion is talking to the NFL reporters. So I don't think you can dismiss this. I think this is a real possibility. Very interesting. And I don't know. I guess look, I expected Colorado to not have the season they did this year, even though they have some great players. And for him to move on, I guess it makes sense if he has an opportunity to move on the NFL to do it. So if he does, I've got to assume that he's thinking this is the opportunity also to stay coaching Shedeur and have a coach quarterback, reign of terror in Dallas. I mean, obviously there's nothing like that's ever happened before. But I mean, I shouldn't say never, maybe like in the 30s with like the Portsmouth Spartans, Biff, Johnson and his son, Billy, I don't know. But as far as I know, there's never been a head coach with his son quarterback in the team in the NFL. What a story that would be. If that's the case, right, that's where the Titans could potentially come in here.
It's interesting because I'm with you. Like if Deion Sanders takes the job in Dallas, I would have to think that there's at least a conversation about Shedeur Sanders joining him to be the quarterback. But then, like, what do you do with Dak Prescott? Like, you just signed him to a deal. So
you move him. You move him to move up.
yeah. So you move him to move up. What do you think the market is like for Dak Prescott in terms of the interest level in him at that number? Do the Titans fall into that? Would they be interested in a Dak Prescott at that number? And what would the package have to look like if you're the Titans with Dak Prescott included for you to be willing to come off the number 1 pick in the NFL draft?
So the first person I saw proposes, I saw Braden Gall tweet this last night. He said, hear me out. Titans get Dak. They get the Cowboys' 12th pick. They get a second rounder next year. And the Cowboys get the number 1 pick. Is that enough for you to
No.
give up the number 1 pick? You
No.
need more than that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
That's me.
I'm
No,
kind of in agreement with you. Like, you're taking on $60 million a year, right?
Yeah.
And so much of this obviously revolves around what you think of Dak, what Brian Callahan thinks of Dak. I think Dak's a good quarterback. I think Dak's a guy who would come in here and could absolutely elevate the Titans to a much higher level of play at that position than we've been seeing.
Yeah.
And that, and I think Dak Prescott at his best is, I think it can be comparable to like Ryan Tannehill at his best. Like, it's in that range, right? I mean, which is pretty good. Now, so much of that is also like, what can you put around him? But I think that you would be able to win football games, get yourself together. It's just, is it worth paying that much? And yeah, to me, I would want a little more than him, the 12th and the 2026 second, because again, you are helping the Cowboys do this, pull this huge thing off. You're taking a big load of money off their plate.
And you're moving way down.
You're getting a good quarterback. Yeah, and you're moving down 11 spots. Yeah, I would need a bit more than that. How about Micah Parsons?
Well, if you do that, then I'd probably do that.
Yeah.
I just think if this situation presents itself and they decide to hire Deion Sanders, then the question is really going to be, all right, is he taking the job with the understanding that they're going to try and go get Shedeur Sanders, or is he taking
totally
the job
separate?
because it's the job?
Exactly.
Right?
Is it totally separate of that, or is it like this is the whole plan?
Right. Because I think the natural assumption is that he would want to coach his son, which I'm sure he would. But is that like a non-negotiable? Because like there's no, like, they can't hire him in the next few days, Joe, and have any sort of certainty whatsoever that they're getting Shedeur Sanders. So, I mean, that can be your plan. What happens if it doesn't work out, right? Like, there's no leverage that they would have in this discussion with the Titans. Unless the Titans are just in love with Dak Prescott, which, again, like, Dak Prescott, I think, is a good quarterback when he's healthy. He's getting paid a ton of money. And, like, do you want Dak Prescott to be your quarterback for the next 5 or 6 years? Maybe you do. I don't know. But I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't think there's a lot of leverage that the Cowboys would have in those discussions. So if you're the Titans, I think you would be at a spot where you could squeeze a lot of juice out of that lemon if you were trying to move down at that point.
Well, and again, especially like the whole, like if you're Deion, to me, you have to consider I think you should consider this move independent of your son. And if you're both in the league in different franchises, okay, great. You're still both in the NFL. But if it really is like, if we can pull this off, then Dallas has to, and then as the other team, you've got all the leverage on that. With Dak, I mean, I don't have his contract in front of me, but it's probably like the next 2 years, right? And then you can get out.
I'm sure.
I mean, you're gonna pay a premium. You're gonna have a huge cap hit, and that's gonna change your roster and how you can go about things. But it's not like you're married to him for a half decade. I don't think. I'll check it out.
Okay, so do you want Dak Prescott to be your quarterback for, let's say it's 3 years? Because do you want him to be your quarterback for the next 3 years?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, he's 31.
He's interesting because remember last year he was actually incredible, And then your Packers went in there and just, it really wasn't on him. I mean, for the most part, they just could not be stopped.
Right.
And then this year,
The series bad.
he was not good and he got hurt. It's, not long ago, he threw picks left and right. So he's kind of all over the place. But I think, again, at his best, if he's got good Dak years left, I mean, I'm not. Again, everybody wants that quarterback, and I get it. And so if you'd rather stick and just pick one of these guys at one, you can do that. But a good quarterback in this league, and just look at the playoffs right now. If you build a team around a good quarterback, you can do a lot of stuff in this league.
Yep, no doubt about it. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We will continue the discussion on Dak Prescott and potentially Deion Sanders taking the head coaching job with the Dallas Cowboys. What do you make of that fit? And what would the draft capital have to be from the Cowboys side of things to give up for you to be interested in Dak Prescott and the number 1 overall pick? We'll take your thoughts on that. It is also time for Pred's Pick to Click coming up next as well. Be the first caller, 615-737-1025. If you guess a goal scorer for the Nashville Predators tonight, you'll win a pair of tickets to a future Nashville Predators home game. We'll do all that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game.
It's time for Preds Picks to click.
And a shot at the score.
Do you think you know who will score a goal in tonight's Predators game?
Little give and go.
Shoot your shot for a chance to win Preds tickets. Call 615-737-1025 now. It's Pick to Click, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Preds Pick to Click here on Robby and Rexrode. Preds in action tonight, taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. Puck drop 7 o'clock, pregame 6 o'clock here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Rexrode still in first place in the standings. 8 correct answers. I have 6. The listeners move up to 5 last time out. Nick Keyser remains at 3 correct answers in the competition. With that in mind, we head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Will to the program. Will, good morning. Thank you for calling in. Who is your pick to click tonight for the Nashville Predators?
Hey, I'm going to go with Roman Yossi.
Going with Roman Yossi. Well, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. So Yossi off the board. I'm up first in the competition today. You're going to see a very motivated Jonathan Marchessault in this game tonight, taking on his former team for the first time in the Vegas Golden Knights. So I'm going Jonathan Marchessault. I think he's going to be all over the place tonight. I don't know if that's going to end up being super great news or if he's going to end up in the box about 6 or 7 times. We'll see what happens.
Maybe a little bit of both.
Could be both.
All you need is one.
But I'll go Jonathan Marchessault on the board. Joe Rexrode, your pick to click.
I feel like Forsberg might have a heater coming. Give me Forsberg.
He's had 2 in a row, so could be. Yossi, Marchessault, Forsberg off the board. Nick Keyser, your pick to click.
I'm going to go with Gus Nyquist. I need to break my 6-game streak, and I think Gus Nyquist does it tonight.
I'm sure he's happy to hear you pick him.
I'm sure
he's not scored against a goalie, by the way, since October.
I'm sure he's very excited.
Yeah, he's probably excited that you just said that, too.
There you go.
Thanks for mentioning that.
Gus is going to be thrilled to see Nick Keyser later today in the locker room.
Make sure you go say hi to him.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Hey, Gus.
Oh, man. Present action tonight, taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. Some interesting reaction on our text line to the proposal that was thrown out there of what happens if Deion Sanders gets this Cowboys coaching job and they want Shedeur Sanders and they want to move up to number 1 overall. Number 1, would you be interested in Dak Prescott as a part of that? And number 2, how much more draft capital would it take from Dallas for you to have some interest in this? There's a lot of different scenarios, some draft capital being thrown around here. How about this from JC in Goodlettsville? If you could pull some future first and second round picks from Dallas, I'd do it. Maybe use those to move back into the top of the first round to get the edge rusher from Penn State and a left tackle to move Latham to right tackle. And you just won the AFC South. That's what JC in Goodlettsville says. If you get all that plus Prescott.
Yeah, well.
That seems like a lot, though.
That seems like a lot. A lot of people talking about the Cowboys keeping some of that salary. I think that's a worthwhile part of the discussion on this for sure. So, I mean, if we're doing a lot of fantasy football right now, but I will say that just the early indications are absolutely that this is not just some, hey, let's throw a name out there. Again, if Deion is doing what he did in terms of let's talk to some of these NFL reporters after talking to Jerry, and absolutely leaving. I know our Colt Anderson's cousin on the YouTube chat said he wasn't interested. That's not at all what he said. That's not what Schefter said in remotely what he said. No. So that to me makes it real. Now, does this stuff get real? I don't know. Like you asked earlier, it's just like it's a life. I mean, you think about how complicated that could be. Like seriously, like the real life implications of already the pressure of being the Dallas Cowboys head coach. Huge pressure. Right. And then like your son, you give up the world to get your son to be the quarterback. I mean, it's certainly possible that Shedeur Sanders is not going to be a great quarterback in the NFL. That is a possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, you compound the pressure of being the head coach of that franchise as Deion with Jerry. I mean, it would be must see everything for all of us. But then you have in a way, I could see Deion being like, this is a life move. This is a dream. It's a Cowboys. And actually, I want anything but coaching my son. I could totally see that.
Well, I could see it. Like, look, I thought in the back of my mind that he was going to be done after this year at Colorado. Like, I mean, look, Shadeur's going pro. I think it was Shiloh's last year.
The best player in college football.
Travis Hunter's leaving. Like, yeah. I thought he's going to be done. I mean, there's video of him the other day addressing the team in Colorado and just being like, well, this is my first time not being a coach of one of my sons, and now I can just be a coach. I don't have to worry about being a dad. Like, he's in a team meeting, just going through all this other stuff. So, like, he's still coaching. So if you're going to coach and you're planning on doing it without your son anyway, like, does that change how you view the Cowboys job? Like, again, I think it's one thing to have a plan. Like, your plan could be, okay, I'm going to take the Cowboys job and we're going to get Shador. Like, you're not guaranteed to make that happen. You could have the plan, but there's nothing there that says you're going to be able to pull off a trade, or that somebody else isn't going to be enamored with Shador Sanders and they want him and they're going to take him. So, like, there's no guarantee that you're getting. It's not college. Like, you're not handpicking your recruits.
Right, exactly. The best thing that could actually happen out of all this is they hire Deion. He comes in. They give the Titans the world to get up to number one, and then Deion takes Cam Ward.
Cam Ward,
yeah,
hilarious.
How about that? And Shador falls to 23 or something. It's like Aaron Rodgers on that draft day.
Dad,
thanks a lot, Dad.
What'd you do that for?
But I like the idea, of taking on some salary. I think, look, if this is truly if this were to materialize and this is truly what they want to do, it could be a huge opportunity for the Titans.
Do you think that Deion is ready to be an NFL head coach, and particularly an NFL head coach at that place with that franchise?
Well, I see. To me, some things about college coaching now I think are harder than NFL coaching. So, look, I mean, he's had some great players. Obviously, his kid is a very good player. He's a legit, first round prospect, maybe top of the draft prospect at quarterback. Travis Hunter's the best player in college football. So, he's had that, but he also had other limitations with that roster. He took over a one-win, atrocious program. A lot of people didn't like some of the stuff, including me. I mean, Deion with the daily deal of an NFL press corps again is just going to be something. That would be my question. But I think from a coaching perspective, you can't look at what he's done at Colorado and not be impressed, right? I think you have to be impressed with what he did at Colorado. He had to change coordinators, and they figured it out this year. They're pretty good. So I think the coaching aspect of it would be, I think he can do it. The weirdness of him with media stuff and what the NFL demands, which is in camp, it's every single day.
Yeah.
And then even during the season, it's 4 days a week. And with that press corps, that would be, I mean, I really do question that part of it. Does he want to deal with that?
I mean,
but I'm here for it.
Where's the media throng going after the game? You going to listen to Deion, or you going to huddle around Jerry?
That's a good point. Mike McCarthy had 2 interns sitting with him while everybody else is crowding around Jerry. Let me tell you something. But now, tough choices.
It would be 615-737-1025. Our phone number. A lot of your reaction to this. What do you make of the idea of Deion Sanders potentially to the Cowboys? And what would that mean for Shador Sanders at the top of the draft? We'll get more into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Alex on the text line, throwing it out there, says, as a Mississippi State and a Titans fan, the minimum to take on Dak is 2 firsts and a second. This is from Alex on the text line.
Well, you're hating on him for his Mississippi State days? He got you to number 1, man. Come on.
Did not sound like Alex is a huge Dak guy.
He's out in Omaha cheering for the baseball team.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Kevin asking, is Brinker going to fire Callahan now and bring in Mike McCarthy? I don't think so, but there is a connection there.
Hey, man. We're sitting here waiting on these staff changes that Stilly promised on Friday. Through his source, who sometimes is right about stuff, sometimes. It's really weird. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's no staff changes because the whole staff is changing. Surprise, everybody.
And Brian, I know I put in my statement that you were coming back as head coach, but we did not anticipate that Mike McCarthy was going to be available. And you know us, when there's a Mike available to hire as head coach, we hire him. Vrabel, Munchak, doesn't matter. McCarthy.
They have had a lot of mics, haven't they?
They have. Malarkey. You keep going down the list. A lot of mics.
A lot of mics. I mean, Mike, is Mike McCarthy going to get a job?
I mean, apparently Chicago was interested. I don't know.
Like he could be their backup to Ben Johnson now.
I guess.
They've lost Vrabel.
Right. Like who's ending up with Ben Johnson? And, I saw this yesterday. Like, apparently Robert Saleh is trying to get some interviews lined up. Like he was in Jacksonville for a while.
Yeah.
And apparently he made a really good impression down there. So like, could Saleh get back into the mix and end up with the Jags? McCarthy, look, he's accomplished. He's done a lot of winning. Now the majority of that came with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback, and they won a Super Bowl, 15 years ago. Is he a good coach still? Like, there's a lot that he did in Dallas, particularly like from a clock management standpoint. You're just like, geez, man, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then this year they were just so bad throughout the year. Now, how much of that was on him this year? I don't know. I mean, Dak was bad and then he got hurt. So there's that. And when you lose him, you're not going to do a whole lot of winning with your backup quarterback out there. But still, like they were not good even before he got hurt.
Yeah. I think he's fine. He's been good enough to get another job, but I wouldn't be like super excited about it. Texter here says, again, a lot of people responding to the Dak situation, Deion, all that stuff. The biggest issue is he's not worth $60 million a season. Cowboys would need to eat however that. Look, I agree, and I don't hate the idea of the Cowboys taking on some of that, but let's also be clear. Like in the NFL now, if you're a good, solid starting quarterback, $60 million a season is the going rate.
Yeah.
That's what it is, man. Like when Tannehill signed that deal for 30, people were freaking out. It's like, well, it ended up being a pretty good bargain until it wasn't.
Exactly. And look, like you said, I mean, Dak Prescott's 31. When he's on, he's good. I mean, the numbers that he had last season were amazing. He threw for 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 9 picks. I mean, there was a good chunk of the season that he was in the MVP conversation. And then this year, he threw 11 touchdowns, 8 picks, 1,978 yards in 8 games. The year before that, he threw for 2,860 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 15 picks. I mean, turnovers were a huge problem.
Yeah. And the injuries, he's had different ones. That's another thing too. So obviously, it's well,
and by the way,
it's a concern.
He had a lot of turnovers 2 years ago. He was turning the ball over a lot this year before he got hurt. And that was with an offensive line that is better than the Titans' offensive line, and certainly receiving weapons that are better than what the Titans have had.
Yeah.
So how do you factor that in?
Right, exactly. And speaking of that, Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, I see people throwing that. The Cowboys, I don't believe either of those players will be available.
I don't think so.
I don't think that's going to be. This is, you got to get Titans need as many picks as they can get. Draft and develop. That's the new strategy, by the way.
Yeah.
A revolutionary NFL strategy. But seriously, they need picks, and I think you could get, obviously, whether it's this or anything where someone really wants to get to 1 because they are convinced that they've got their guy at 1, this is a real opportunity.
I would love to know, like, what's a more attractive option to the Titans? Let's say that Dallas is all in on this, and they hire Deion Sanders, and they are willing to trade Dak Prescott to you as a part of a package to get up to number 1 and go get Shedeur Sanders. Okay, so there's one option. Let's say pick your team wants to move up somewhere in the top 5 or the top 8 in the draft to 1, and you move down, and they don't have a quarterback to send your way, but they send you their first-round pick this year, their first-round pick next year, a second this year, you recoup your third. Like, what's more attractive to you? Building your team that way or getting Dak Prescott in at quarterback? Because if you take the other option, you still have to figure out quarterback. And that could be any number of the options we've already talked about that could be out there in free agency or via trade.
Yeah, look, we're sitting here talking about the free agent quarterbacks, and if Sam Darnold does happen to get out there, I think you're right. They're still probably going to tag him, but okay, so he's your best option. And then you go down from there. I think the Dak thing is attractive because right now, like Texter here says, it doesn't matter who we have quarterback till we address the offensive line. We could have Tom Brady in his prime, wouldn't matter. Well,
That's
yes,
not true, but yes, I hear you.
Yeah, right. But they have to. They are going to try. I'm confident that they're going to try to address the offensive line this offseason. We'll see if they can or not. We'll see if they do it successfully. But they're going to try. And I think that I think Latham, Skoronski, I think you can at least be solid there moving forward, right? So agree with that. But to me, if you had this for a short term, it's not the worst thing while you build other things up. Now, then you still are going to get into that point where, okay, so he's pretty good and you're pretty good and you're in the middle and you can't go get the next great quarter. So to me, like all of these questions then come back to, do you actually believe one of these guys could be great? Because this is when your opportunity is.
Right.
Now, you may have an opportunity next year too, because you might stink again. Okay. But I don't think that's, as much as it's draft and develop, patience, all that stuff, I don't think anybody in that building should feel too good about winning 3 or 4 games next year and hanging around.
Well, and, you draft and develop, patience, all that. But again, like if you're drafting and developing, eventually you're going to have to find the quarterback. Maybe that is this year, maybe it's not. Maybe your drafting part of the quarterback comes in a year or two. The other part of that is, okay, can you build the team good enough where you are competing for your division and you are getting back into the playoffs with Dak Prescott? Like, are you close enough now with your team where with Dak Prescott as your quarterback and you address a couple of things this offseason, like, are you close enough now where you're winning the division next year?
No. I mean, you'd have to have some kind of ungodly offseason.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So how close are you really? Like, it's not like Dak's ancient. He's 31 years old. He has had a lot of injuries. I think a big part of his game early in his career was being able to run, and that's not as much of a part of his game now. He's a good pocket passer. He throws the ball well. When he's on, he's really accurate. But, like, how much does it move the needle, I guess, if Prescott is in here over the next year or two?
But, well, if you're competent, then in the next 2 years, you should be able to absolutely be a contender for the AFC South if you're competent.
Right.
In tandem with him. So they weren't planning on sucking this year.
I know.
So yeah, it's like there's so many things too. Okay. Is L'Jarius Sneed going to be one of the best corners in the NFL next year? Or is he going to not play at all?
Right.
What a huge difference in range there. Right. Like, is Tavondre Sweat going to be, pretty good, promising player like he was this year? Or is he going to start to become a great player? I don't know. Is Jeff Simmons here or in New England? I don't know. But you have to plan in the NFL. Like, there is no excuse, no matter where you are, that in 2 years you could get yourself to be a decent playoff contending team. If you can't do that, you're bad.
And there's a guy that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes that could also make this thing pretty interesting. Like, what would you rather do? Would you rather trade with the Cowboys and bring in Dak Prescott, or let's say Rodgers gets cut by the Jets and he's out there and available and wants to play, and you can acquire him by not trading anything. You can just go get him. Like, would you rather do that for a year and then reevaluate where you're at quarterback next year rather than giving up your number 1 overall pick as a part of a package for Dak Prescott?
Rodgers and McCarthy like each other still?
I think so.
Green Bay South. The plane from Green Bay just keeps bringing a whole new team to Nashville. How exciting.
It'd be fun for me around here.
Yeah.
Bring in all the former Packers you can get.
Yeah. You can go.
That's when you call AJ Hawk and Randall Cobb and be like, guys, come on. Jordy Nelson.
Get Jordy out there.
Get them all out there.
Yeah.
615-737-1025. Our phone number. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. We'll take more of your thoughts on the Dak Prescott part of this. We will get into Aaron Rodgers as a possibility for the Titans at quarterback in the 8 o'clock hour. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be a male model, but I'm going to have 17 taquitos for lunch. So, I mean, yeah, it's great that she wants to win, but I don't know that I've had those, but a few times I've looked at them in the warmer and they look pretty freaking good. Oh, really? Oh, I need sources to tell that? Is that right? I need sources to demonstrate that Chad Breaker's done a bad job? Robby, help me out. Let's keep that blood pressure down, folks. No FCC violations. Thank you for your concern text line.
This is that time of the day. It's time for Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. Check it out every morning here on the program. Joseph, the floor is now yours.
I feel like Nick's stalking me. I mean, he's our producer.
A lot of clips.
Yeah, but every stupid thing I say ends up throwing back in my face. Why is that?
Oh, man.
I need to whoever tweeted this to me, I think it was our game account. So I don't know if that was you, Nick, or if it was somebody else producing. But you did see this, Robby, right?
The taquitos being recalled?
Yeah. The day after, or like hours, right? After I talked about my love for taquitos, the Tennessean tweets out nearly 25,000 pounds of frozen taquito sold at Aldi, recalled due to possible contamination. Whoa.
That's good. Good to know.
Whoa, man.
A lot of taquito discussion yesterday.
That's really weird, right?
Yeah, it's concerning.
What does it mean?
Well, it means that you probably need to be mindful of the taquito consumption.
It doesn't mean that I'm going to avoid taquitos now.
No.
Here's again, I've said this before. I've said everything before. But here's a great rule. Now, it doesn't really apply to this. But I would you could apply it to this too. You know what you do if you really want a taquito now? You go to Aldi and buy taquitos. That's
right.
least contaminated taquitos in the world.
It'd be at the top of their game.
It's
like the restaurant that gets closed down from the health department.
No, we've done that before. In fact, there was an Italian restaurant in Michigan, Katie and I, and they got these health violations. It was this big thing, and they offered like half-off meals. Like, hell yes, that is the cleanest kitchen in the world right now. There is not a germ in that kitchen right now.
3 months from now, who knows? But right now, it's in a good spot.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like once everybody calms down, then maybe you look at side eye a little bit and look at it. Okay. That's actually a pretty good topic. What I was going to quickly talk about is, I ordered pizza. Keeps coming back to food I eat. Very healthy person.
You do the pizza taquito combo?
Man.
Back in the day.
Pizza flavored taquitos?
Remember back in the day
you imagine?
Where they used to have like the options where like in Hendersonville we had a Taco Bell Pizza Hut combo. So like, as a 17-year-old, when my metabolism wasn't absolute crap, I could go and did this many times. So, I think I'll take about 3 or 4 soft tacos and also a personal pan pepperoni pizza. Thank you. Like that was good combo back in the day.
That's that is absolutely. They also sometimes have like the KFC Taco Bell, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit more of a tough sell. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can make something work there. But I understand why, and it can work out. And there's like a discount, so I did it. But man, ordering pizza with an automated phone thing, this is what happens. First of all, it takes forever. Thank you. And would you like to add something else to your order? Instead of just let me rip off the 4 pizzas I'm ordering to the human. And then, you want anything else? Oh, yeah. So I got in trouble. People yelled at me because I forgot to order the ranch. The ranch that's just so good at this place. We didn't get breadsticks, but we just got pizza. But I didn't order the ranch. If I had been talking to a human being, like I tried to tell them, I would have remembered. But instead, it's like, and would you like something else? Let me repeat your order. And I'm just like, get this over with. And then I finally hung up, and then everybody yelled at me. So
wow. It sounds like a rough night for you.
Yeah, well, it was not fair, really. But I really I understand that apparently I could have declined, and then finally at some point someone would have talked to me.
Yeah.
I would really like it if we could make it so I understand that AI is taking over the world and all that. At some point we'll all be androids or whatever. But right now, if you order pizza, if you have a pizza place, it's like if you have a place that sells a cookie and some bubble tea, don't call yourself a bakery. If you own a pizza place, have humans who you employ who can take orders over the phone.
I disagree. I think all orders from now on should be done online and or via kiosk.
Yeah, I hate that.
No, I love it
Ugh,
because
hate it.
you fill out exactly what you want, and all they've got to do is read it. You just got to read it exactly the way that it's spelled out there for you. I don't remember the last time that I've ordered from a pizza place where I've actually spoken with a human.
Really?
It's been years.
Well, this is probably a generational thing between us.
No, I'm not spoken with an automated voice message either. It's just been the online.
You like to
thing.
fill it
Yeah.
out. Yeah. Because that's the thing. Yeah. The automated sometimes. So you said a pineapple and onion pizza.
Yeah,
No, I said pepperoni mushroom.
That would drive me nuts.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I like talking to a person, talking it through. Sometimes they might be like, hey, okay, well, we got a special on this or whatever, right? Look, this could have something to do with also that I am a former pizza delivery boy.
Yeah.
And so I, enjoyed that. And I liked interacting with the people, taking the calls. I just feel like it should be a communal thing. And, I would like it to stay that way.
I was a pizza delivery boy too, and I will say the online orders became a thing when I started there, and it was beautiful. All you had to do is print out that receipt, like, okay, so they want pepperoni and sausage on there, and on the other half of the pizza they want banana peppers. Cool, we'll do that. You just fill it right out. It's all good. Doesn't get lost in translation over the phone. Not somebody talking like this. It's just, excuse me, sir, I can't hear you. What are you saying?
Yeah.
The online order is a great thing.
Yeah, I get it. Maybe this ultimately rant turns on me and I need to join the 21st century now that we're a quarter of a century into the century.
Yeah.
People are correct with the place I was ordering from, by the way.
That's good.
Which must be because of the ranch there. Robert says, wait, you're blaming the automated phone service for forgetting ranch? How about a little bit of self-awareness? LOL. Well, maybe it's because I got yelled at, okay? Maybe that's really the issue here. I get yelled at. It's like, hey, you're welcome to order it yourself next time.
Absolutely. I got one text that says, I have not ordered a pizza from a human being in 8 years. 8 years.
I really don't like that.
It's probably at least that long, potentially longer for me.
God, I never I almost always talk to a human, and this was such a bad experience for me. I don't know why the online thing bothers me. I don't know why I don't love that. I don't know. I just like talking to people.
The only thing that bothers me about online ordering is every now and then you'll run across a place that does not have their full array of options available with their online ordering. Like for some reason, it's like, well, we have this, but it's not included in our online order. You have to verbalize that you want this. And it's like, well, is it on your menu or is it not? Put it on the online menu. It bothers me from time to time.
Yeah, that's weird. But also, there's a fast food place where we have the app.
Yeah.
And I swear, it never works.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, I guess we'll just push the button and talk to them then. See, should have done that in the first place.
I think I know what fast food place you're talking
Yeah.
about. 615-737-1025,
No free ads.
our phone number. 615-737-1025. We talked with TD on Friday about the possibility of Aaron Rodgers becoming the next Titans quarterback. What do we make of that? And is that a realistic option for the Titans this offseason? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keys are here with you on this Tuesday morning. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. So, Joe, we had Teron Davenport on the program on Friday, and the conversation on who is going to play quarterback for the Tennessee Titans next year already in full force and will continue to be until either the beginning of NFL free agency when they come to a decision on that front, or certainly in the NFL draft when they could come to a decision on that front. And a name we brought up with TD was Aaron Rodgers. So Rodgers obviously spent the last 2 seasons with the Jets, the first of which he tore his Achilles 4 plays into the year and did not play for that season. And then this past season, nobody looking all that great with the New York Jets. And now the question is, number one, who are the Jets going to hire as their head coach? Who are they going to hire as their general manager? And what does that ultimately mean for the future of Aaron Rodgers? Now, Rodgers has said that he is going to contemplate what his future looks like here over the next few weeks. Prior to that, he has talked about how he doesn't really want to retire and he wants to keep playing. But I guess with that guy, you never know. You have to leave the door open for the wind to change direction and for him to change his mind. So we'll see what decision he ultimately comes to. If he does come to the decision here in the next few weeks that he wants to continue playing football and it's not going to be for the New York Jets, should that be a realistic option for the Titans? We asked TD on Friday about the possibility of Aaron Rodgers to the Tennessee Titans. Here's what TD had to say.
Yeah, so I think it is realistic, and that's a name that I definitely would imagine will be in the mix. I know whatever happens is going to obviously depend, on what quarterbacks become available. I don't believe Derek Carr is going to be someone, even if he does come available. I don't believe anymore that they would go that direction. But Aaron Rodgers, I can see that. It's just really going to come down to, are you going to be able to have the production on the field outweigh the stuff that comes with it? And we know there is a lot that comes with it.
So that was TD on Friday. I went through some of the numbers yesterday with you, Joe, on Aaron Rodgers from this year. 63% completion percentage. He threw for nearly 4,000 yards, 6-7 an attempt, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He is 41 years old. And as TD mentioned, there's the on-the-field part of it, which I think is a question by itself heading into this. And then there's everything away from the field with the McAfee stuff, and you know that he is going to be in and around the news at all times while he's your starting quarterback. So I ask you, Joe, as we sit here today on January the 14th, do you think Aaron Rodgers is a realistic option to be the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans next year? And do you think he should be a realistic option for the Titans to be their starting quarterback next season?
He'd be way down my list of possibilities. The numbers you said there, they're not bad. I've watched him play some this year. He's still pretty good. He's not great. And to me, all the extra stuff needs to be accompanied by great. The thing with Rodgers too, I just, like, if I'm Brian Callahan, some of the appeal, a lot of the appeal of Brian Callahan, of course, was quarterback development. But the Titans have successfully pawned off a lot of last season on Will Levis, and basically, Will's fault and quarterback play wasn't good. And I'm not saying that that's inaccurate, but Brian Callahan, I think it's critical that at some point, if he's going to have a long tenure here as a coach, he has a young quarterback who does develop into a good player. I just don't know how that dynamic would work for him. He already, I think, probably has some things to improve on and learn about being an overall head coach. Good little bit of side note, but it's kind of related to this. I thought Gentry has had a really good column in the Tennessee today about Mike Vrabel and some really good insight into why he's effective. And he's effective because he is very frank and blunt with everybody in the room, but also he gets to know them and he gives a crap and he lets them do stuff that's important to them and their family. All that stuff. Like, it's really like, it's a very, I don't think it's like the same approach that every coach does. I think it's a little bit more with him. And I think that's part of why he's been effective. And I just think about a guy like Brian Callahan next year, basically coaching for his job.
Yep.
And trying to get better. He even said himself in the presser last week, you get a little bit more on the defensive side of the ball, and you're not just the whiz kid play caller guy, right? And I feel like Aaron Rodgers here just creates too many things that are probably going to undermine you than help you.
I can see that. Now, I could also make the argument that if Sam Darnold isn't available and Minnesota decides to tag him, that if you want your best chance to turn things around and win football games next year, that he could be your best option to do that of the realistic quarterbacks that are available via free agency. I mean, I guess the question then becomes, like, how much does he help you win football games next year? At age 41 going into 42, can he either maintain what he did last year or this past season or build on it? And the hope would be build on it. You know, and look, you listen to Rodgers talk, you listen to Devontae Adams talk, they make it sound like he was dealing with some stuff coming down the stretch of the season from an injury standpoint, even beyond just coming off the Achilles from last year. So, okay, what was he dealing with? What was he banged up by? And is that going to get healthy this offseason to where you feel good about a guy at age 41 staying healthy at that position next year? Like, a big part of his game has always been, yeah, he's an incredible passer. He's extremely accurate with the ball, but he's always been able to move, right? So, he's not like a scrambler, but he's always been able to get himself out of trouble and move around in the pocket.
Absolutely.
And it didn't look like he could do that very often this year. So
that went way down.
If that's going to be what he is moving forward, and that's less and less a part of his game, how much does that hinder what his effectiveness could be in front of, at the moment, what is a not very good offensive line? Like, do you factor that into it as well?
Yes.
Like, I think all those things have to be taken into account. However, as you sift through all that, I can still make the argument that of the realistic options at quarterback, he might be your best one in terms of your chances to win football games next year. Which kind of shows you what the quarterback market looks like.
Yeah. Well, I'm with Andrew here, who says, taking the trash, the Jets don't want at quarterback. Oh, wow. This is a new low.
Well,
I mean, you're not wrong, but
the Jets didn't want Geno Smith or Sam Darnold either. I mean, the Jets –
that is fair.
– have made bad decisions at quarterback.
But those are two young guys. They were right about Zach Wilson, I think. I mean,
think.
so far,
Right.
They've been right about Zach Wilson. Well, they're wrong initially.
Right.
They're wrong a lot initially. I think what you hit on there is important, though, too, on the field, the lack of mobility. That's where he really looked different to me. Whenever I watched them play, it felt like whenever there was pressure, I thought I was watching Jared Goff, who is just, or Darnold last night, just sitting ducks. Yeah. And that just, I mean, the Titans are going to try their best, I'm sure, this offseason to address the offensive line and get better. But how realistic is it to become a really good one? Because I think he needs a really good one.
I think he does too. And a lot of things would have to come together for this to happen, right? Like, number one, the Jets would have to decide to move on from him. Number two, he would have to be okay with playing again. And number three, he would have to be okay with playing again for a team that, unless some sort of miracle happens this offseason, is probably not going to be in contention next year. And you know that. So is he going to sign up for that? That's the other thing. Now, look, TD's throwing it out there. We've talked with Charles Robinson about it, who don't outright dismiss that he would be interested in playing for the Titans. So, like, I pay attention to that.
Convenient, short drive from home, from one of his homes.
It is. So, look, he might have some interest in playing here. I just, there's a lot that comes with that. And again, for our purposes, it would be great. It would be great to have Aaron Rodgers as a starting quarterback in town. Is that the path that makes the most sense for the Titans, given the quarterback options that are out there? That's what you have to determine.
Text line's mad at you, you Aaron Rodgers lover. There's some people upset. Well, the point is, man, is like you're talking about winning games. Like, how many games did Rodgers win? Also, Jets thought Rodgers could help them. Now, 2 years later, everyone is fired.
Yeah. Have you seen that place?
Yeah.
Not that this place is much better, but have you seen that place?
It is.
I mean, there's a story that came out 4 weeks ago about the game ball being handed out by the owner's teenage sons in the middle of the locker room.
Well, I like the Madden rating thing.
Making decisions off Madden ratings.
That was
like that's where you're talking about. So I understand. Like,
he did fit in well to that.
You could put it all on him if you want to. I think we've seen enough evidence from the New York Jets to realize it was more than just a Aaron Rodgers problem this year.
So maybe if he leaves the Jets and just the Titans, this culture here would be just what he needs.
Look, I'm not saying that that Aaron Rodgers comes here and the Titans are back in the playoffs. I'm saying that he might be your best option. Go look at the quarterback options that are out there right now in free agency. They suck.
Yes.
They're not good. So, like, I'm not sitting here saying that Aaron Rodgers comes here and the Titans are on Super Bowl's doorstep. I'm saying he might be your best option because the rest of the options suck at quarterback out there.
They do suck a bit. Why does he want to come here other than seriously? It's like a 5
It would have to be to keep playing.
Yeah.
Does he want to keep playing?
Basically, like, because obviously he signed with the Jets, and look, that roster looked loaded, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this year, I know I picked him to go to the playoffs. So yeah, he's been relegated to whoever will have me to start.
Maybe.
I'll do it.
I mean, look,
if that's the case, retire.
I think some of that would also be like, look, I think absolutely believes he could still play at a high level. And I think he would believe that if he comes here, he could be the difference in them getting back into contention. Now, that may be misguided belief, but that's what he would believe.
Raymond and Franklin, I hope he is a quarterback for the Titans next year, because that means he's definitely not going to be the quarterback for the Steelers next year, and I can't handle that as a Steelers fan. Thank you, Raymond.
I mean, that could be an option for Pittsburgh too. Again, like, if we were having this discussion 3 years ago, it'd be a no-brainer. Like, yeah, bring him in, and you'll deal with the crap too.
We were
to bring
him
in. Exactly.
It was actually 3 years ago after the Tannehill meltdown. It was like, Aaron Rodgers, how much of the world would you give up for him?
Right, exactly. It's a different conversation now. Again, I'm not saying that this is a great option, but it might be your best option, particularly on the free agent front of it.
Very depressing.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll take more of your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers to the Titans coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers. TD says he thinks that's a name that could be in the mix for the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans next year. What do you think? Let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Adam in Portland. Adam, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, Robby, man. I do think he could be probably the best choice, but how pathetic is that? Like, that's where we are, dude. And what's he going to do, man? He doesn't have the roster that the Jets had here. He doesn't have the roster. It's going to be all him behind the worst offensive line and a coach that really prides himself on his offensive system. So I don't know, dude. It probably is the best choice, and we would have to get lucky to get him, but we'll still be a 3 or 4 win team next year because of it. I don't see it working any other way. By week, like, what is it, 5 or 6, he was getting his other coach fired, man. We're so far down. Losing Mike Keith really broke my spirit. I want y'all to know that. Like, I'm so broken right now. I don't know where it looks up ever. And Aaron Rodgers definitely is not that answer. So I don't know, dude.
Yep. Thanks for the call, Adam. Let me make something clear. I'm not advocating for the Titans to go sign Aaron Rodgers. Now, from a selfish perspective for our radio show, I kind of am advocating for that to happen because it would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I don't think Aaron Rodgers comes in here and that's your missing piece. What I'm trying to highlight is I don't think there are very good options out there available for free agency. So if you don't love either one of Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward and you're not going to take them in the draft, the quarterback play could be pretty interesting next year around here because I don't think there's very good options out there. Sam Darnold has been really bad the last 2 games in Minnesota. Does that mean that he's now going to be available? I still have my doubts. Like, I think Minnesota's probably going to tag him. So, and then they'll play him next year, and either until he looks great and you're more confident about him moving forward and maybe you entertain conversations of a long-term deal, or you play him until you're ready to play JJ McCarthy. Like, I still don't think he's going to be available this offseason, but I think probably the idea of him signing some long-term deal in Minnesota, given the way the last 2 games have gone, is probably out the door. But that still doesn't help you if you're the Titans. If he's franchise tagged and he's in Minnesota next year, he's still not an option for you right now. So the options are not good for the Titans at the quarterback position.
Yeah, we got people asking about Tannehill, which is an interesting question, by the way. And I'm not saying that because I think there's a snowball's chance in hell of him coming back here, but it is an interesting question. Is Tannehill going to announce a retirement, or is he going to just spend another year kind of waiting to see if there's a really good team that loses a starting quarterback, which is absolutely what I believe he did last year. Maddie says, not saying I'm a Rodgers fan, but bland noodles taste pretty good when you've been eating poop sandwiches. I think that's well put.
Well articulated.
Yeah. How about taquitos?
No, one texter says, Rodgers meets a rising country music singer while on his darkness retreat or vision quest, follows her back to Nashville, finally moves into his Williamson County house, convinces Devontae Adams to come to the Titans. Hey, it could happen. Not likely, but still better odds of happening than Levis being better next season.
I heard Randy Carthon said Levis is going to be fine.
I did hear that.
For the record.
I did hear that. I mean, look, I'll put it to you this way. If I told you before this past season, and I know it's difficult to think about now knowing the way that it played out, but just try to put yourself in your shoes last August. And I told you, hey, Will Levis in year 2, he's going to finish with 3,897 yards, 28 touchdowns, 11 picks, completing 63% of his passes. What would you have said?
Well, I would have said that he's probably
quarterback rating of 90.5.
Yeah, he's on the verge of getting the deal.
Yeah. So I guess my point is that's what Rodgers' numbers were. And that is quarterback play that is even as bad as the Jets were. That quarterback play, those numbers right there are well above anything the Titans have had the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
Well above.
For sure. Now, if you told me the record that went with them, I'd be like, that's weird. But yeah, of course. Yeah, those numbers are, I mean, like Rodgers is still an effective quarterback. Yeah, it's just, I guess, I don't know why. Maybe just because I think that, I just don't think he's, I think it's really hard. I think it'd be really tough for Callahan, like I said earlier, to have Rodgers be the quarterback. Like, I think Derek Carr would be a better option if that were an option.
Right.
Now,
Is he going to be available?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and you could argue the other side of that too. I may be wrong. It's pretty close. And Aaron Rodgers is probably still in his diminished state, a little bit more gifted and capable on the field than Derek Carr is. But,
So let me ask you this. As we're going through older quarterbacks that could be available, Michael Penix is the quarterback in Atlanta now. And we've talked about this with Charles.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is going to be out there. They've acted like, and I think there were some comments coming out of the building in Atlanta this past week saying that they would be okay with Kirk Cousins being the backup moving forward.
Sure.
To which Charles Robinson on Twitter was like, "Yeah, until March 16th, I'm sure you'll be fine with it," which is when free agency starts. So if he's out there and available, would you rather have him for a year or Aaron Rodgers for a year?
Him. Now, the big concern is you talk about statue quarterback. Cousins has always been that. Like you said, Rodgers used to be really good in the pocket, and Rodgers rip off a 20-yard run.
Yeah.
Cousins moves about as well as me, okay? And that goes back to college. So Cousins is as much as – and again, Jared Goff, the exact same situation. You give Cousins or Goff a clean pocket, and they'll zip it all over the field for you, okay? Now, the Titans giving Kirk Cousins a clean pocket next year.
It's hard to imagine.
That is a big leap from where they are right now. So, but I still would pick him because, like you said, Rodgers is now. They both had the Achilles. They both been affected by it. I do wonder, like the late season performance of Cousins. Was that the Achilles acting? Not like what happened there? I don't know. I still would take him though because he would be an absolute dream for Callahan in this locker room. And he really would. He's one of the best leaders, people, whatever, intangibles are off the charts for him. Whereas, as we've talked about,
two very different styles of quarterback.
Yeah, like in terms like if Callahan it would be a dream for him in terms of dealing with a quarterback and having leadership in the locker room.
Yeah. The question is, like, just on the field.
Yeah. How effective is he?
How
anymore?
effective is he anymore? And was the last we saw of Kirk Cousins now what he is? Because if that's the case, then that's a big problem moving forward.
Yes.
I don't know. I guess the point of the whole thing is if it's not Aaron Rodgers, and then we'll throw Kirk Cousins into it as well. Well, then everybody's immediately going to turn their attention to Sam Darnold. I don't think he's going to be available. Even given how bad he's played the last 2 weeks, I still don't think he's going to be available. Maybe I'm wrong about that. We'll see. But let's say he's not. Let's say they franchise tag him. All right, well, cross Darnold off the list. Your other options are Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Jacoby Brissett, Justin Fields, Jameis Winston, Mac Jones. You excited about any of those guys?
You're just going to ignore the elephant in the room, huh?
Who's that? Marcus?
Say it damn right. You can't even say his name.
I just said it.
Sad.
Marcus Mariota.
By the way,
do that.
He came in the other day and Tirico called him Mariota. I'm like, oh man, it'll never end.
Problem.
It'll never end. Yeah, no, it's tough.
It's slim pickings, man.
It is slim pickings. So
you throw Russell Wilson on that list if you want to.
Maybe.
I don't know what Pittsburgh's going to do there, but.
And we had talked earlier in this season about like the Stafford thing, but I mean, with the win in the playoffs now, that I can't imagine because there was definitely a lot of talk about them around the trading deadline, right? They were like, okay, maybe it's time, but I think that ship has sailed too.
A lot more of your thoughts to get to on the quarterback front for the Tennessee Titans. We'll do that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063 the game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-1063 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. I got some tickets to give away. A pair of tickets to see the Blue Raiders of MTSU take on Western Kentucky this Saturday night. Tip off at 6 o'clock. Be caller number 3, 615-737-1025. Our phone number,
100 miles of hate.
615-737-1025. Nick Keyser, a Western Kentucky grad in there, throwing up Western Kentucky hand signals.
Hey, by the way, Nick Keyser, you might be interested today in my bracket, because I'm the bracketologist of The Athletic now. I got Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders, the 13 seed, playing Illinois, 4 seed in Seattle in the South region in Atlanta. Just want you to know.
Check it out, The Athletic.
Middle Tennessee making my field. That's right, baby. And Lipscomb. And Vandy. And Tennessee. Total homer.
Let's say you're getting called a homer from the outside world.
There's Purdue fans that are very mad at me and calling me a Tennessee homer in the comments. Purdue fans, I don't know. They hate me. It's weird.
Well, I mean, you were the beat writer for the Indiana football team this year too. So
that is true. And they beat them like 110-3. So boiler up.
A lot of thoughts on the Aaron Rodgers front here on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Some people saying, hey, you know what? Why not give it a shot? A lot of people saying, yeah, let's not do that. Let's not get Aaron Rodgers in as the quarterback. One texter says, I love picking a quarterback at number 1. It's the excitement we need, just like the early Vince Young days. So let me throw that.
There is something to that.
I want to spin that question off to you this way, Joe. Does the lack of exciting options or good options on the free agent front for quarterbacks, in your mind, make it more likely that the Titans are picking a QB at number 1?
I guess, but I don't think that's how you should look at it.
I don't either, but I have no doubt at times that is how teams look at it. It's part of it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and this is where,
like, you got to find a quarterback for next year somewhere.
Well, this is all where you get into also when you're in that building, what's your perception of your safety?
Right.
Like, I know Chad Brinker thinks he's got till 2032 to build a winner here. But, you know, like, are they, in all seriousness, are they pressed for, Russell Wilson, man, let's make it happen. Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, because you have to get to, or, make the trade, get Dak, because you have to start winning. You have to get yourself to a point where you can be competent under center and not throw all your eggs in the basket of a rookie.
Yeah.
Especially, again, rookies that aren't Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and some of these rookies that belonged in the top of the draft. Nobody was arguing that Caleb Williams, or May or Daniels, some of these other guys who have gone high shouldn't have been there. This year, it's like, well, because they're the best 2, they might go 1 and 2. So I think the answer to that question has to be how you feel about them. And if you do feel that they are that level of prospect, then there is the excitement mentioned there. There is okay. I mean, it's a new era, and I know it's like right after this year where it's like, all right, Levis, let's see what you got. But there is something to that. But to me, if you're doing that, well, the free agents suck, so I guess let's try this. I just think that's a way to stay low.
Well, I think it is too.
Stay down.
Now, I guess the other the response to that is, like, if the quarterbacks aren't very good this year in free agency, but you don't love either one of the quarterbacks in the draft, are you just going to be terrible again next year? Like, what's the alternative if you don't like Sanders or Ward? And look, let's say Rodgers retires.
What if you love Dylan Gabriel and you get him well, that's right, you don't have a 3rd round pick. Never mind.
There you go.
2nd round?
Like, let's say Rodgers retires, which, look, I think is a possibility. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a definite that he's coming back next year. Let's say Rodgers retires. Kirk Cousins ends up in Pittsburgh as the quarterback of the Steelers, and you're looking at your options and you're saying, well, there's Justin Fields, there's Zach Wilson, there's Russell Wilson, maybe. Like, what are you doing at that point if you're the Titans? How do you fix quarterback next year? Because I think bottom line is Brian Callahan at least, and I don't know about Chad Brinker, Brian Callahan needs to show some progress next year. He's not going to be here.
No doubt. Well, so I would, for example, given the roster, even though I don't think Justin Fields' career will end up coming close like Cousins' career, I would pick Justin Fields over Kirk Cousins right now because I think you can do some things with his ability. And look, I have my doubts that he's ever going to be a great quarterback or even maybe a very good quarterback. But if Brian Callahan can get him to be a good quarterback and you can win enough games that way, that speaks well of Brian Callahan's ability. It'd be fun to watch. Again, this is not super exciting for people I know, but that's where things are. That's how slim the pickings are. Brian says, Rodgers a perfect fit here. Overpriced, underachieving, injury-prone, complete loon. Bring him on board now.
Well, maybe some truth to that. Would he be overpriced? And I don't think he's going to cost a ton next year.
Also, the point here, the national media attention, a common complaint. You would not have to worry about that anymore.
You wouldn't. I mean, look, we talked yesterday about the Vrabel part of this. Could the Titans Patriots be a primetime game? You'd probably get a few primetime ones if Aaron Rodgers is your starting quarterback.
That is true. If you want to,
if that's what you
maximize your primetime opportunities as a 3-14 team,
the
worst team in the league, that would be one way to do it. I guess, but you know what? You say that. I think there's a lot of fatigue on him anyway, though, isn't there? Like, it's just, I think people are kind of like, oh, okay, he's just not that great anymore. And
people still talk about Aaron Rodgers a whole lot.
They do. He still goes on McAfee.
Yeah.
So there is that.
Yeah. Look, there's no doubt that he would bring a lot of attention here. But again, is that really what you're concerned about right now? Like, I'm concerned about winning football games. That would be my concern if I'm the Titans. And look, he may help you do that. I don't know. Like, again, I think you can make the argument he would be the best option out there in free agency to help your team win next year. But that just kind of highlights where things are at right now. Like, none of these are a great option. Rodgers is not a great option. Kirk Cousins coming off the end of the year last year is not a great option in my mind. Russell Wilson torpedoed at the end of this year. That's not a great option. The options are slim for the Titans right now at quarterback based on what is available to them.
Yeah, name brought up a few times, and we've talked about it before, and it's worth talking about, is Jake Browning, who did very well last year with Callahan still in Cincinnati once Burrow was lost for the season.
Yeah.
As a backup, he did very well. Is he a guy who –
Is he a starting quarterback?
Is he a starting quarterback?
Well, and the other part of that is this.
I think he's a better quarterback than Mason Rudolph, which I guess means I got Jake Browning number 9.
Okay, is he a starting quarterback? And even if he's not, like, what are you giving up to go get him? Like, why is Cincinnati giving him up?
Right. They're friends.
Yeah, it would, Cincinnati probably feels like, hey, you know what? We're in a pretty good spot with our backup quarterback if Burrow goes down. Which, by the way, Burrow's gone down a pretty significant amount over the last couple of years. So, like, could you you would have to me, probably overpay in your price to go get him.
Yeah.
At that point.
And they feel.
Are you really in a position to do that right now with what your roster looks like and your draft picks and all that?
And this is one of those things we throw out there. And like, if Brian Callahan were here giving truth serum, it'd be a quick, you know what I mean? It's like,
he could say,
he might be like, nah,
he did a good job.
A very good backup. Or he might be like, oh, you know what we're doing, huh?
Right.
Jimmy G. Someone throws out Jimmy G.
I would include him very much in the not good options.
Yeah, just, it's okay. Yeah, a lot of these guys, again, anybody we've mentioned today, just about, give you a pretty significant step up from the QB play you got this season? Yes. What does that mean? Again, if you get into the middle and you're okay for a while, you build the team up, draft and develop. And then you're, middling 9-8, 10-7 kind of team. That's good. That's way better than this embarrassment. But also now, at what point do you have a long-term answer at the most important position?
Said back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Lance in Clarksville. Lance, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, y'all just hit the nail on the head. We need to quit worrying about the quarterback and get the rest of the team at least average, because there's not a quarterback out there that's going to help you on his back all the time or running for his life. They need to use the draft picks straight back or do something, use many draft picks and start trying to build up the whole team. They only got probably 5 or 6 players worth having, if that. So they need to quit worrying about the quarterback. Get one of these clowns that can halfway quarterback and let's put a good team around him and see what we can do. Hang up and listen.
Thanks for calling, Lance.
You can't not worry about it, though.
You have to worry about the quarterback.
I mean, you're right. It's just a question of, and that's the thing. The veteran answer to me, even though obviously it's more money, that is because now you're going to use a draft pick to get a serious helper somewhere else.
Yeah, like I understand the idea of wanting to build up your team to help the future quarterback. You also can't wait until like everything's perfect before you address quarterback. Like you're going to have to address quarterback this offseason in one way or another, whether it's veteran or drafted. Like, let's say you trade down and you acquire more picks and you build up the offensive line next year to where it feels good, where you feel good about it moving forward. Well, that's great. Like your roster is never going to be perfect where you just have, all we need is a quarterback. Like it's really hard to get to that point in the NFL. And by the way, like I understand that the offensive line play around here has been especially bad over the last 3 years. I don't think specifically this year the quarterback play really helped him out very much at all. Like there are a lot of sacks that I can point to this year that were on Will Levis. So how much better does that get with better quarterback play? Like Joe Burrow had a pretty awful offensive line. He looked pretty good, got to the Super Bowl because he's Joe Burrow. Like the idea
he
that
did not avoid getting sacked 9 times here, though.
Right. Like the idea that you can't overcome bad offensive line play to a certain degree with good quarterback play has demonstrated to be not true in the National Football League.
Yeah, if you have a great one. But even think about like the Super Bowl that the Bucs won, where Mahomes in that game was like, I have to throw a while upside down. I guess we're not going to win.
But think about what you're talking about. You're talking about in the Super Bowl.
Sure. But you're also about Patrick Mahomes.
I understand. I'm just saying, like, the idea that the conditions have to be perfect around the quarterback for them to be upright and to be effective with an offensive line is not true.
No.
It helps a lot.
But it's been terrible.
Right.
I mean, you're right. Levis, yeah, his pocket awareness. I think that's what Brian Callahan said, right, last week. I thought that was the first thing he talked about when people, right? Not good. But there are also times where it's like, here comes a missile over there, right over right tackle, where right tackle would normally play. And you better take cover.
Look, I'm not sitting here arguing that the Titans' offensive line has been good. I'm just saying that better quarterback play probably mitigates some of that.
When you're the worst team in the league, you need to try to address both. ASAP.
I would say that would be ideal if you're the Titans, which I'm sure excites all the Titans fans. Yeah, go draft some more offensive linemen. That'll be good.
How about that? Another guard?
A lot of more thoughts to get to on the quarterback front on our text line. We'll do that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in. Final segment of the day. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/getitall. A lot of interesting reaction to the Aaron Rodgers part of this on the text line.
I need to read Jeff on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com. Lance is right. You guys fall for the we must find a QB and receiver every year. Where has that taken the Titans? Have the Titans been able to overcome a bad O-line with any of their QBs? Tannehill, build a foundation, then build up. Stop trying to patch holes in a bad team with bad leadership at all levels. I think that we've actually many years been like, well, they probably need to fix that offensive line. I mean, we've been saying it. They've just been unable to do it effectively.
And where is that guy in the Titans? Have I missed the quarterback and receiver that they've drafted that have been good? What are you talking about?
Well, they did draft Traylon Burks after they got rid of their one great receiver.
Yeah.
They've had since Derek Mason.
Where is it taking the Titans? Look at their record with A.J. Brown and their record without him. It's pretty different, huh?
It does seem to make a difference.
Seems like it matters.
I mean, again, like the bet, yes, their offensive line was absolutely better. There's no question about it. But even like 2020, they lost Taylor Lewan. But when you have, because you have Quessenberry over there.
Yeah.
You have Derek. You have Ryan playing at a high level. You have A.J. Brown on the field.
Makes a difference.
It all works together. Team sport. Ultimate team sport. Every sport says it's the ultimate team sport.
It does. Cameron on the text line says, let's see here. Getting a veteran bridge quarterback, a terrible idea. Having a meaningless 7-10 or 8-9 season only hurts the future of the franchise. Need to take the best non-QB in the draft, tank again next year, and then draft our quarterback.
All right. Again, people are getting paid by Amy Adams Strunk. I don't think she loves the idea of 3-14 again. I know it sounds good now, but live through it and then tell me that those people are keeping their jobs. Now, maybe Brinker will. Brinker is,
Callahan will definitely be fired if that happens.
Right. So you're not tanking. No one's tanking. No one tanks anyway. So now look, could you get the rookie and, obviously you're still trying to win, then who knows? And there's more of an excuse built in if you have the rookie and you play the rookie and some things get better, you still have to win more than 3 games, right?
Yeah.
But there's obviously probably a little bit more leeway given if the rookie looks good, you win a little bit more. You're 6-11, but you have a promising young quarterback. Okay, you can survive with that, but the whole tank thing, man, it's not real. It's not reality.
I got one text that says, how can we pass on Sanders? His bloodline is a winner. We pass on him, he becomes the next great quarterback. He'll win. It's from an unnamed texter.
I like him. He'd be my choice of anybody in this draft. He'd be my choice. I think he's good. I think he's accurate. I like him. He's doesn't have great size, which is one thing. So, look, he would definitely be my choice. Cam Ward kind of, there's just some wild stuff that goes on with him at times, but even with Shedeur as my clear number one, I don't know. I just don't know. Look, most of these, again, most of them aren't working out. But it doesn't mean you never take a chance, and you often don't get this opportunity.
People asking about Tannehill. Tannehill's not coming back here, guys.
Oh, my God. Here, 0 chance. 0.0.
Not coming back here. I don't think Tannehill wants to play just for the sake of playing, which he basically said last offseason of, I'm not playing just for the sake of playing. I want to play on a team that has a chance to win a Super Bowl.
It's amazing how many people throw that out there.
Yeah,
do you not pay attention to his departure and what happened at the end here? He's never coming for the Titans.
Never coming back. That does it for us today. Chasing Big Joe. Up next, you're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.